Alright, and welcome back to our breakdown series. We're talking about fighting games still. I said last time that we would look into Guilty Gear Strive's very unique mechanics to this game, not covering general mechanics of fighting games that is in our last episode. So if you haven't watched that episode and you want to learn kind of what makes up a fighting game, I recommend going back and watching that. But if you're interested in very more complex and unique mechanics of Guilty Gear Strive, then this is the episode for you. We're going to start in the game before I actually go on Dust Loop again, because it is a very good resource for learning fighting games, and we'll get more into the math and statistics and system side of it later on in the episode. So, with any fighting game, Guilty Gear Strive actually has a very, very good tutorial system where it teaches you what are the main mechanics of this game. You can see it right here if you just go to missions, and they'll have different chapters for each one. Of course, this one teaches you kind of the basics of fighting games that we went over in last episode. So that is are your movement options, which are dashing and walking in, jumping, double jump. You have your buttons, close slash, your unique moves, your specials, Gatling combos, so what moves go into each other, blocking, throwing, and or dust moves, your overheads, character direction, everything like that we kind of went over. But when you get down to here, it gets down to more, I think, unique mechanics into Strive that we will go over now. Moving forward into the list, you can get even more air dashes, jump canceling. These are also, I would say, more akin to fighting games, but it varies per fighting game what you can do and what you can't do in these games. So let's go over some of the very basic, just like mechanics to Strive that you'll want to know how this game works and how it operates, what your different characters can do, what their archetypes can do, etc. So let's get into training mode and look at that now. So we're going to go in training, and I'm going to just pick Giovanna again for our first kind of test subject to look over some of the unique mechanics of Strive. Alright, so other than, like I said last time, where how Strive does different with their button layouts, the first one that I would say is very important to know is your burst, which is just it's as simple as holding down the dust button and any attack button, and this is used to get out of a bad situation essentially. So if he's comboing me, for example, we're gonna turn the AI on, right? That was a bad example. There. So like if he's comboing me, then I can get him off. It's basically a get off me button. It's very unique to Strive. You have the burst meter in the top underneath your health bar. It's that blue meter blinking right there. It says burst. And it's, I think, a very good mechanic. The equivalent of this in, let's say, Street Fighter, I would say is like your V-trigger, which they've evolved since the last time I played Street Fighter. But that is basically what a burst does. It gets you out of a bad situation. Of course, there are other ways to get you out of bad situations. The next one would be your flauntless defense, and this is where we get into kind of more meter usage and what you can spend your resources on when you're in this fighting game. So in Strive, you have flauntless defense, which is basically another way to get out of a bad situation, but it uses meter and it blocks. So if the CPU is just on me, right, and I'm blocking, if I hold down 2 buttons, it will push him back further. So if he's just going at it like this, if I hold down the flauntless defense, as you can see in the bottom left, it's using my meter. It's kind of resetting though because I have it on infinite, but it will push him back further, making me get out and take my turn. But if I didn't do that, then essentially it doesn't push me back. It doesn't push him back as further as I would like him, making him more momentum on me and harder for me to get out than if I use Flauntless Defense. So that's a very unique mechanics to Strive. Another one that I really like that you kind of forget to use when you're getting pressured like that, but it is another good option in order to switch the turns up and be like, hey dude, get off me, I'm free now, we're resetting back into neutral, we're playing footsies again, and I'm trying to win my turn this time. So those are two options of getting out. The other one to get out of the corner and more defensive options is your last one would be your roaming cancels. And to understand that, we're going to go over like kind of the other two. So I believe there are 4 types of roaming cancels in the game, and really only 2 of them really matter. And how you do that? Well, you hold down all 4 buttons. So they all do different things. So yeah, there's purple, there's blue, there is red, which you do by doing an attack. You gotta hit them. And then there is yellow, and this is the one that is more defensive. So let's see if I can do this. There it is, yellow. So yellow is used to essentially, stop the combo, and it gives you your turn. You're using meter in order to stop his turn and take your turn now. And compared to the other options, which are more get off me, let's reset. These are your 3 big defensive options in Strive. They're, I think, good options to have. It varies per game. Again, like in Street Fighter, you have your V trigger, which V trigger was primarily used before I believe like they reset it. It was, when I was watching, it was used like to turn it around. So when you would get low on health, you would regenerate your V trigger faster, and when you use it, you would unlock new skill set of your character in order to beat them down, and just beat them down faster. And just swap your turn and give the momentum back to you. So those are the big ones that I would say are matter with meter and your defensive options. The other ones, these all do different things. I believe like the red one, for example, boosts your damage up when they get hit by it, and that's pretty much what meter is used for. It's just roaming cancels and special moves. And those are very unique mechanics generally to Strive. The next one is your, let's see if I can just get it, is your positive bonus. So if you keep beating them, generally when you break a wall, you'll get this thing called positive bonus. There it is. And that also increases your damage, and just gives you more momentum into the game, just making you deal more damage, and do it. Just keep your turn going. That's all Strive is. It's just ways to, counter your turn and take your turn and keep it going. You get this generally just by just getting on people and going aggressive, but Strive has a very unique mechanic too, where you can break walls. And wall breaks are not always in this game, or not in all games, but you basically move to the next arena, you get your positive bonus, and you reset it. So it gives a benefit to the person who broke the wall, but it also resets the bracket, where now you're back into footsies, and now they have a chance to turn it around. It's a very, I think, it can be annoying. It means like you can't do crazy wall combos and just be oppressive like you can in let's say other games like Street Fighter, but I think it's a good mechanic where, again, it incentivizes that the 2 players can now swap turns and see who can swap it back and take back the lead. The last one is your risk meter. You can also get a negative bonus of, which I think, again, once we get more statistic things, will lower your health or damage to something. There it is. I got it. It's basically, believe the system is just used to, you know, incentivize, like, getting in there, fight, if you're not doing anything. So the last one is, there is a, kind of like a risk meter, I would say. It's the equivalent of, like, Street Fighter's stun meter, where let's put him into... How do I want to do this? Is this it? So if he's blocking, right? He's gaining that purple meter. And once that purple meter is full, it may be better just to, like, have me record it. This is kind of hard to demonstrate. It could go in, like, the mission and demonstrate it, but I think it's just better just to demonstrate it like this. So let me just record this real quick of just him blocking. And there's probably a smarter way of doing this too, I just don't know it. Alright, so I'm gonna play this, and he's just gonna block all my high moves, and I'm just gonna keep pressuring him and build this meter, right? And the more I build this meter, you see how it gets red? And then if I hit him low, it's gonna put a counter. And that's gonna give me more turns. So another kind of mechanic to incentivize, don't just block. You can't just play defensively. That's not how this game works. They want you to take your turn, and they want the other opponent to take their turn. This is just it's ways of benefiting both parties. So, with that, there are two other, like, kind of very simple mechanics, and then I'm gonna kind of get into character mechanics. And that is counter hit. So counter hit is basically a way is to, you know, get your momentum going, where if he attacks, I can always get a counter on him. And counter, it's very different to this drive. It's kind of like a punish. Basically, he would throw out a move like this. If I throw out a move, let's see if I can get a good example of this. So after block, let him do... Actually, just 6p. Yes. So if I hit him like this, he's gonna counter me, because I'm hitting a button and now I'm not. So this is just like another way, a very unique way to just like get the mechanics to get the ball rolling back in your court to take your turn. So with that now all out of the way, pretty much like that's kind of the standard unique mechanics to Guilty Gear Strive that I think players should know about when going into it. The last one is anti-air. So Strive is another game where in most games characters will have moves to anti-air. So like your DP, what I just did there, will always anti-air in some sort of way. It's opponent just like to punish the opponent for being in the air. So if I set this to jump, and let's see if I can like try and DP him. I'm not good with this input. I'm still learning this input. Whatever. So anyway, like there's ways to just knock him out of the air. Giovanna doesn't really have good anti-air options. You can argue that like her far slash can knock him out like there, but it's not the best option. So Strive has a very unique mechanic where to knock him out, you just 6p. And 6p is just forward 6, and then you hit the P button. And this is a universal anti-air. So if he's... let's just say, if I'm gonna record this, let's just say I jump in. Trying to find the right button. I don't play Kai. Alright, there we go. So if he jumps, let's see if I can get this right. Let's just say he jump dashes. All right, this is probably a better way to do it. So if he jump dashes, right? Just at you in general to do an attack, you can 6P him out of that. That's your anti-air. So he's gonna jump dash, hopefully, and I'm always gonna knock him out of the air, no matter what he does. So I'm always gonna win that because that's your anti-air. This is a universal mechanic to Strive. Every character has this. It's good for anti-airing. If he does it again, let's just have him 6P. Right. And then I'll have him do that. He's always gonna beat out my dash, right? That's just how it works. Where 6P is just very good at that, and it's a universal kind of anti-air, and just stop, kind of just like hold your fist out. It's very slow again, like if you miss it, then you're gonna lose your turn, and that's not good at all. Right. So those are kind of the general unique mechanics to Strive. Moving real fast, we're gonna get into character mechanics. So Giovanna has, for example, just having her. She has a very unique mechanic to her, where if she's full meter, she'll do more. She'll take less damage, and she'll do chip damage now, compared to before, where she wouldn't do that. So if I'm hitting him, I'm doing chip damage. But if I have no meter, like let's turn my tension to 0, right? Then I won't do chip damage. You see? I'm also not glowing anymore, and I'll take more damage as well. But you gain tension and meter just by moving fast and attacking. This is very unique to her. There's other mechanics that are very unique to people. For example, Testament, who I don't have in this game. He has a mechanic to him that if he can put like a dot on you, and if you get hit by it, if he hits you while that dot is on you, he'll do more damage, for example, like that. I talked about this again last time, but there's different archetypes within Guilty Gear Strive. For example, this character is a grabber. He's also has a different weight limit. He's will be a lot slower than Giovanna. He'll fall slower than Giovanna. He won't jump as high. Look how slow his walk movement is. But he's a grappler, so this is like how he works. But he has a higher, maybe a defense value than Giovanna. And these are all very unique characters or mechanics and systems to different characters. He can't dash. Like, he can't dash at all. He can backdash, but he can't dash forward. And this is very, very akin to fighting games. A lot of games have this. It's just very standard systems to make characters stand out more compared to others. So, now that we've kind of had a brief overview of all that, let's look at it. So what does that entail, essentially? On the Dust Wiki, we can see every character's stats, archetype, and how those systems interact with each other. So let's start. We're going to start with gravity and weight limits. So as the wiki states, characters fall at different rates when being hit in the air. In general, the heavier they are, the faster they fall. So we can see the different weight limits of each character. For example, we had Giovanna. Giovanna's light, which means when she gets hit, it's going to take her longer to fall than, let's say, Kai. Kai's normal. So Kai would fall to the ground faster when he gets hit. It's, and this changes per character. This means that, well, it's if I'm comboing a light character, it's very different than if I'm comboing a heavy character, and kind of differentiate the how each character interacts with each character and how each playstyle interacts with each character. Gravity increase, characters also can become heavier the more they are hit, making some combos impossible after a while. Again, this is more of a mechanic to make sure that the turns stay even, and some players can not get juggled for the rest of their life, right? So if you're a light character, it means you fall to the ground slower, so which means you can be hit more in the air, but you'll go to the fall faster the more you're hit, to make sure you're not in the air permanently, right? Pushback. When being attacked, characters usually get pushed back to the opposite direction. You can see this with like pretty much any attack, where if I hit that, he gets pushed back a lot farther than something like that. He doesn't really go that far when I'm hitting him like that. But if I do a heavier attack, he'll get pushed back further. Again, and then this again applies to knockdowns and things like that. This is because it goes back to turns. If they get pushed back further when they're in the corner, that gives you the chance to dash out of it and just reset your combo, which is really nice. Going back, we will have the wall. We already talked about that. The wall breaks. Again, you can look at kind of the damage of it, where it says the total wall damage is capped at 50%, which means you can only do 50% damage. This is another mechanic where in the wall, when you break the wall, you'll do damage to the opponent, but it will cap it out on how much damage you do, just to make sure that you're not getting one-shotted at the wall. The wall also probably has its own health bar, where it says the current amount of wall damage can be discouraged to some extent by the size of the cracks of the wall, meaning how many cracks in the wall you can see how many attacks it will take in order for you to break it. And then the wall will also interact differently with overdrives, where most people want to break the wall with an overdrive because it will do more damage than just breaking the wall with a normal attack. That's why if you watch this game, you'll see people break the wall with certain moves than just normally attacking. It's very, very a good mechanic, again, to balance it out, to make sure people aren't just getting one-shot it completely, even though the damage in Strive is pretty freaking high. So, moving on to damage scaling, there are 3 standard factors when assigning damage: defense modifier, guts rate, and risk level, as well as 2 non-standard factors assigned to move-by-move basis. This is how damage works in Strive, and if we go over this real quick, we can see that, well, it takes in your risk factor, it will take in your positive bonus. Right here, the risk factor, risk level, is displayed as the risk level gauge changes. That's the purple bar that we saw, I believe. No, that's just the positive bonus bar. My bad. Whoopsie. But again, like I said, positive bonus changes based off like your damage type. And located underneath your character's burst bar. Oh, it is the purple bar. Oh, I'm all over the place today. The risk level rises each time you attack or block normally. Insta-block using flawless defense or instant flawless defense prevents the risk level from increasing. Risk, and that's just like how damage scaling works, where again it wants you, if you're on the attack, then you're gonna do more damage in this game. Not all games have this. You can read this forever, Again, I don't think this is super duper necessary to know if you want to play Strive, but it's good to understand, and it's a very unique mechanic that maybe you want to apply to your games in the future. Moving on here, I'm going to just kind of like speed run just a little bit. You have your guts rating, and guts rating is basically in this game, it is damage scaling. So when you're at 50% life on the bar, you're not actually at 50% life depending on a character. So for Giovanna, she has a guts rating of 1. So if she's equal or at 50% life, she's not really at 50% life. She's at 87% health. This is, again, I think, implemented in this game to just give a bit of differentiation of people's health. That's really it is. It's just a damage scale of just how much health they really have. And I think they just did this. You can do this by, like, in Mortal Kombat, for example, if you look at MK11, they just have the health bar and how much health a character has just straight up. But in this game, all characters have 420 life, and then depending on their guts rating, it actually is higher than 420. So it's think of it as like that base 420, and then you have an extra 20 or 100 added to it based off whatever your guts rating is assigned to that character. Moving on to defense, then you have your defense rating, and they give you an example here. So as you can see, Chip's defense modifier is larger than Pokimane, or I just want to say Pokimane for some reason. Defense modifier, which means that if an attack does 100 damage on Kai, who has a defense modifier of 1.0, it would inflict 126 damage, where on Chip it only would do 93. Basically, it's an armor value. It's very standard in video games. It just means that, like, some heroes or characters are more beefier than others. That's all it means. Then you have EHP, which is effective health. Measures the raw amount of damage a character can take, taking in guts defense modifiers into account. So this is basically their true health values in the game. Once you do the formula, you add defense, you add guts. This is every character's true health modifier. And as you can see, someone like Giovanna has 504 health. Even though her base health is 420, with all her modifiers on top, she has 504, which is not even the highest in the game. But once she gets her tension mechanic, which is again a unique mechanic to her, she then becomes, I believe that is the highest health in the game, at 558, which is pretty crazy. But her defense goes down, so she'll be taking more damage from attacks. The last damage archetype is chip damage, which we talked about before. Not all characters can do this. Basically, when you're blocking, you'll take a small percentage of damage. That kind of covers, it's kind of a light cover over, but this video is going over very long, and I don't really want to get into formulas on how these systems work. I just want to introduce them to you to know that they're there. And that's how Guilty Gear Strive's damage system works. The next is their movement options. We kind of went over these in the first video. These are kind of all standard for a lot of fighting games, but they have high jump, which is super jump. You have your air movement, your dash. This may change per character. Some characters can like float and shit. In Mortal Kombat, I remember there's like one character who I believe can just like kind of wind walk. Some characters have different dashes compared to other characters. Some characters can't dash at all. There's landing recovery, which goes back more into frame data, which means that when you land, there's a certain amount of frames before you can take another action again. There's knockdown recovery. We talked about this. There's staggering recovery. There's wall recovery, which is if they don't hit you on the wall, you can jump off of it depending on which input you're inputting, which is a really cool mechanic. There's also jump cancellation. So you can cancel jumps in this game. A lot of fighting games you can do this. Certain moves just do it as a whole. So if you go back to or RAM's a good example of this. If we switch to RAM, you can jump cancel certain things, meaning there's certain moves that if when you do, you can just jump out of. So 5K you can jump out of, but like 6H, I can't jump out of that. If you look at my inputs, I'm holding up, I'm not jumping out of it. But 5K I can jump out of. Close slash, I can jump cancel out of, but far close slash can't jump cancel out of it. And basically what that allows the player to do is just mix up things where they can do an attack, jump out, and hit them from above, right? And it gives them more options. So those can do certain moves can be canceled as well. This goes back to kind of the Gatling option, where if I can cancel this or I can cancel this into a special move, if I can do it, right? But I can't cancel this into a special move. It's slower. And then you have your clash. Clashing is another unique mechanic to Strive. Certain moves trade when they hit. I'm not going to try and demonstrate this, but basically that if both people hit the same move at the same time, it will just negate it. Roaming cancels. These are the roaming cancels. We went over this earlier in this episode. You have your blue, your red, your purple, and your yellow. This will show you what they actually do. So startup 6 and all the frame data and what they're doing on block. So super cool, just like mechanic to Strive and how they work within Strive. There's also in this game, you have dash canceling and dash momentum. So if I dash forward, I can, or Geo is a better example of this. If I dash forward, yeah, let me switch to Geo real quick so I can demonstrate this a little bit better, because not all characters can do this. And again, I think this is like another mechanic that is unique to Strive. There are other fighting games that can do it, other characters that can do it. But Geo having a dash, she can carry the momentum of the kick into it. So depending on, it comes out faster. So you can see like she does this little like slide compared to like normal, and that's really cool. But she can also cancel the dash. So if she dashes in, if you hold back, you just automatically start blocking. So this is the full dash, right? And I can cancel it earlier. Really cool options, just again, that you can do. And then there's move input buffering. This is like kind of in any game. You just like buffer moves before they come out. Nothing too crazy there. And then that's pretty much it when it comes to movement. The last one is defense. We're going to go over this real quick. You have blocking, you have air blocking, you have insta blocking. All of this we already went over. Flauntless defense we went over earlier in the video. This is like how much gauge it consumes and what it consumes. So a strike, it will consume that much gauge. Chip damage, yellow roaming cancel, clash throws, that's when you both throw at each other. All of these we all went over before. Nothing new there. And then lastly is gauges, where it just shows like how much you'll get, how much you'll lose, how much you're spending on a gauge, how the tension gauge works. All of these stats you can read here, pause the video, feel free to do. That's all here as well. And then that's pretty much it. The last big thing is frame data, but these are all very unique stats and characters to Guilty Gear Strive that, switch it up and you can change. So, video is almost 40-minute long. I know this is long, but again, I really want to go into these mechanics in depth, explain them, how they work, and what they affect and what they're doing. You don't need any of these. Let me get this straight. I don't think you need any of these to make a good fighting game. But it will be useful for making unique characters within your fighting game. So, thank you for listening if you stuck with me this far. I really, really appreciate it. Make sure to leave a like, follow, and subscribe. Leave a comment if you want to hear more or talk about more mechanics or understand how they work or operate. I can always do some research into it. This is very, very brief kind of, I think, overview, and I'm sure there's a lot of hidden formulas behind the scene that we just can't see. This has been your host, Salty Waffles, signing off, and I hope you're having a wonderful climb.